मयूर जस्ट चेक करो कि यूट्यूब में लाइव दिख रहा है क्या। मयूर, मयूर आर यू देयर?
वी आर लाइव।
लाइव आ रहा है ना? ओके ओके। ए वॉइस भी आ रहा है क्या? Okay.
ईशान सर, ईशान सर, आर यू देयर?
Hello, brother. Can you see me? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Okay, sir, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Okay, I'll just fix myself.
Okay. No
Okay.
problem.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, brother.
Hello, sir. Just give me 2 minutes.
Sir, can participants get inside?
Sir, just give me 2 minutes, please. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Sir, just give me 2 minutes.
Uh, Hello, Mr. Liano.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
morning.
this is Dr. Ishan from Research Circle. So we'll be starting in a while now, maybe 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
So Mr. Amar will be the master of ceremony today.
Yeah. Sir, where can I find the YouTube lives link?
Uh, Hello, sir. I just shared with you right away on
Okay,
your
okay.
Facebook.
Okay, I saw it already.
Yeah. So you'll be live on YouTube as well. So once Mr. Amar introduces you and welcomes you, you can start your keynote, and we will share your screen by then. So you will
Okay.
have the control over your PowerPoint slides. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Then
Okay, sir.
I'm just muting it. So it's over to Amar now. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, sir. I'm audible. Hello, sir. We will be starting in 5 to 10 minutes. 9:30 sharp. Sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine. All good. Only take care of the mute.
Yes.
Not mute. Sorry. The echoing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, sandali, may seminar ako. Gail, mamaya, mga 20 minutes na eh. Sige, bye-bye.
Hello, MD Naim Hasim. Yes. Kindly unmute yourself and turn off the video.
Hello, Amar. Please unmute your audio, please. Your audio is on mute.
Okay. Now audible.
Yes, good now. We can start.
Yes. Okay. Hello, I welcome you all. My name is Amar. Uh, we welcome you all to the multidisciplinary conference on the current research trend, that is IMCCRT 2020. IMCCRT 2020 is the virtual conference which will be reaching the audience all over the world. In this testing time, International Institute of Knowledge and Research, that is IIKR, CSR First Research Consultancy, and IT partners, Versil Technologies Private Limited, decided to make the best use of digital world to the researchers all over the world, crossing all the barriers. The participant of this conference will get a chance to interact with the researchers across the world with minimum cost and the latest technology. This year, we had more than 500 abstract submissions, and a total of 150 plus researchers will be presenting their research today across 3 different modes, that is, pre-recorded videos, one-to-one Skype chat, and group presentation. We have a total 5 keynote speakers who will be delivering their keynote presentation. Today, we will have 2 keynote speeches, and we will have the group presentation after the keynote speeches. Tomorrow, we will have 3 more keynote speeches, and we will have few more group presentations. Let me add, there is no question answer session after these keynote speeches, as you can ask the queries via email. So, without wasting much time, let's welcome our first keynote speaker, that is Professor Dr. Leonio Bezas Capsulu, LPT MRS MAD MIRE Dr. PhD.C, PhD H.C, Master Teacher, Speaker, and Researcher, Philippines. Leonio is a multi-award winning Filipino master teacher, speaker, and researcher from Pampanga, Philippines. He is the senior high school teacher, school master teacher at St. Matthias National High School, School Division Office of Pampanga. Region 3 of Department of Education in Philippines with over 2 decades of teaching experience. Leonio is a Dangal NG Bayan award-winning educator. The Dangal NG Bayan Award from the Philippines government is conferred with an individual for the performance of extraordinary act of public services and consistent demonstration of exemplary ethical behavior on the basis of adhere to the code of conduct and the ethical standard for the public official and employees. He also received recipient of an Asian Achiever Award 2019, Gawad Pate National Award 2019, Outstanding Research Advocate of the Philippines Award 2019, and the Most Outstanding Teacher Award 2018. As a researcher advocate, it has been his advocacy to promote the culture of the research by developing school-based research management in the region. He has initiated research capacity building for a new research in the government and the private school. His network with the other international organizations become a bridge in the hosting international research conferences in the Singapore, Bangkok, Philippines, and Vietnam. His love for less fortune moved him to conduct studies and advocacies for the communities developed in the depressed areas and initiated literacy and a faith program to select children of Macabebe, Pampanga, Philippines. And as an educational leader, he has written contextual curriculum modules for the values education for junior high schools and written assessment and evaluation tools for senior high schools in the Department of Education. He holds a Bachelor of Degree in Education, major in Religious Education and Master in Religious Studies, catechesis in those Don Bosco Centers of Studies, Paranaque City, an affiliate of Salesian Pontifical University, Rome, Italy. He took a Master of Arts Education in La Salle University, Das Marinas. He received 2 honorary doctorate in Philosophy Institution in Brazil. He is preparing for his final defense of emerging model on promoting and enhancing research productivity in basic education of his doctorate of Philippines, PhD in Educational Management at the University of Assumption, San Ferenzo, Pampanga. So I welcome all. I welcome to the Dr. Leonio. So you can continue.
So, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello, good morning, everyone.
Yeah, we can hear you,
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
doctor.
So, thank you to the organizer of Virtual International Multidisciplinary Conference in Current Research Trends, or IMCCRT 2020, which will be held today until tomorrow, actually until the 21st of September. So, thank you for inviting me in as one of the plenary speakers of this conference. So, with my other speakers, we hope to enjoy the day. And for those who are listening and watching to us through YouTube Live and Facebook Live, thank you for coming over. I hope we could share some insights with you on the current trends on research, particularly the presentations of our presenters for the duration of 3 days. So for today, I'll be sharing to you some insights on the role of action research in developing teachers' competencies in emerging paradigms or emerging educational paradigms, particularly in the context of the Philippines. And I hope we could also benchmark and share these insights to our other brothers and sisters in Asia and the world. So again, I am Mr. Leonilo Capolso. I am the president of Beyond Books Publication. I am also a master teacher of San Matias National High School, School Division Office of Pampanga in the Philippines under the Department of Education. So for today, we're going to explain the important concepts and principles of action research in relation to education, particularly today in the new normal of education and even in other fields of specifications. We will also enumerate certain themes of action research in relation to education and its legal basis. And let's try to see how are we going to incorporate all these themes as we try to discuss different topics and as we continue to conduct action researches to enhance educational system not only in the Philippines but also in the world. And if time provides, we will be discussing the impact of action research to teaching and learning environment, since this conference is a multidisciplinary conference. As for my end, I'll be focusing more on education and maybe touching on other fields along the way. And let's try to identify future directions of action research in the emerging education. So there is a saying which says, altrox melior dolcissima veritas mendacis, or the bitter truth is better than the sweetest lies. So as we experience the pandemia across the world, truth is really very important as to help us prepare uh, sorry, our educational system and even our health system in trying to protect ourselves from the effects of COVID-19. Okay. So, what is action research? But before that, let's try to have a review of a definition of research according to Clark and Clark. So, research is a careful and systematic objective investigation conducted to obtain valid facts, draw conclusions, and establish principles regarding an identifiable problem in some fields of knowledge. I think this is the very reason why we are having this conference. Our presenters, researchers across the country and across the globe will be showing to us their solutions to problems they identify that will enhance humankind, that will enhance our way of living. But this is based on an objective investigation based on the facts gathered in order to solve problems of the world, may it be in education, in health, in engineering, and other fields of human existence. So action research, according to Levin in 1944, is the integration of action, which is implementing a plan, with research, which is developing an understanding of the effectiveness of this implementation. So why we are doing this conference? We are doing this conference in order for us to find solutions to the different problems we are all facing because of COVID-19. For us academicians, we are trying to identify different mechanisms that would address the needs of educational gaps in the Philippines, in Asia, and even in the world. So we are trying to integrate this action with this problem so that at the end, we're going to have a better solution to ensure quality, reliable, and responsive education to our learners. So according to Kurt Levin, the author of Action Research, no research without action and no action without research. So research without action is nonsense if you are trying to respond a particular problem. I think this is the important role of action research in education and in other fields. So it is a systematic inquiry done by teachers or other individuals in an educational setting and maybe in other fields to gather information about and subsequently improve the way the particular educational setting operates, how they teach, and how well their students learn. Particularly, for example, in the Philippines, as we open the school year this October 5, the Department of Education had laid down the learning continuity plan. This actually encompasses the different modalities that will be adopted of all schools in the Philippines, may it be face-to-face, online, blended learning. And at the moment, there are mechanisms being implemented in different regional office and division offices in trying to capacitate teachers in order to become responsive to the health, to the need of the students, and even to the needs of the parents who are now facilitators of learning. And of course, action research would be very important to different uh, agencies in the government, may not only be in the Philippines, but other government for that matter. Because this data that they will gather through research will be very important in responding to the needs of the different fields. According to Stephen Corey, it is the process by which practitioners attempt to study their problem scientifically in order to guide, correct, and evaluate their decision and actions. As of the moment, the health department or the health agencies had been trying to perfect their research on the right vaccine that will be adopted by different countries in order to stop the pandemic. Business industries had been implementing different mechanisms to sustain the financial status of the government in order to maintain the equilibrium. So as leaders of the government and different agencies, we really have to be very upright. We have to be very reflective as to the kind of modality we will be adopting, because that would determine what kind of output we will be having. So as much as we try to focus on productivity, we also would like um, to give importance on the health priorities of our workers, of our employees. So therefore, this research outputs, this research discoveries will actually instruct and enlighten leaders and decision makers in order to maintain the common good of society, of the academe, and even of the world. So action research basically follow four cycle, okay, or the four important steps, although other authors have different steps. No, so it starts with planning, then acting, observing, and reflecting. So actually, others would go a little bit backward. They start with reflecting. So as professionals, as experts of our field, regardless of our discipline, action research starts with the problem. So at the moment in education, for example, what are the common problems that we initially encounter? Some parents are having a hard time doing facilitating learning at home without the help of the teachers. Now, teachers from their end also encountered different challenges as to assessment, monitoring, and feedbacking with the competencies expected of the students. The local government officials are also very concerned as to protect the health and to see to it that other educational needs are being addressed because of this situation. So basically, all these problems enables the researcher to plan what do I need to do in order to respond to this problem? So after identifying the problem, the researcher now develops a plan that would try to address, that will serve as the intervention to the problem. So after planning, the researcher has to put it into action. So putting action means you're going to trial, to collect data, to gather information through your questioning, may it be quantitative or qualitatively. And after gathering of data, the researcher then observe, try to analyze the results. So analyzing, then trying to report and share. And this is the purpose why we have the International Multidisciplinary Conference on Current Trends of Research, because we're going to present the findings of our research to instruct and to empower decision makers in different fields. And from there, we will see if actually the problems are addressed. If not, and then that actually calls us to continue the cycle. That is why it is called the cycle. So if the problems are not properly addressed, then the researcher also needs to think another possible solution until the problem is properly addressed. So why action research is important according to John Creswell? So action research, just like other research, is important because it helps researchers and experts to encourage change in school and in other fields and other institutions. It is also important to foster democratic approach to education. It empowers individual to project collaboration. Sometimes there are things in in the academia and in other fields that can properly address through collaboration. No, one of the important thing maybe that we have to consider through this online mechanism that we have is the importance of collaborating with people within our area and even outside the country. So thank you for the organizer of this conference, because it also enables us to collaborate with other experts in the different field. It also positions teachers and other practitioners as learners who seek to narrow the gap between practice and their vision of education. So if I am the Department of Education Secretary, the results of research were enabled me to address the needs of the learners, of the parents and other stakeholders. At the moment, there is already some talks within the educational circle to 1 minute. I'm running out of battery. Um, to look into the assessment mechanism, no, because of the distance learning, it's the teachers, the school is having a hard time trying to assess how much the students are learning. So the Department of Education is trying to identify possible means of trying to respond to these needs. Let me fix this first because I'm running out of battery. Okay, thank you. So, and also to encourage educators to reflect on their practices. So if you are a teacher who'd been there for a long time, you have to say, what's the difference between the way I handle my class before and the way I handle my class now? How should I address to the challenges encountered by my students? Or if I am from the field of business, if, for example, the business is going down, as executives, you must be able to identify mechanisms that would at least sustain the status quo, or at least help your company, boost your company in responding also to the needs of your clients and also of your employees. Promotes a process of testing new ideas. Now, there are different philosophies, there are different pedagogies and strategies coming out because of COVID-19. And as educators, as experts in the fields, we must be able to identify, adapt, uh, best practices of other countries, of other institutions in order to respond to the needs of our constituents. That is why reflection is very important to decision makers, because later on we would realize that each problem deserves a particular solution. We cannot simply adapt without trying to contextualize, because our constituents, for example, if you are the principal, your students' experiences is different from the experiences of students in other countries. So you must be able to contextualize the plan or even the design you want to implement. So action research in the Philippine K to 12 education is actually uh, rooted in the Republic Act 9155 on the basic educational reforms. According to this law, that all reforms in education that will be adopted by the school, by the division, by the agency should be a byproduct of research. That is why the learning continuity plan in the basic education in the Philippines is actually drawn from the previous studies in the field. So what the department did is to gather this basic information from the grassroots, sit down together with different stockholders or stakeholders, and then they were able to draw out this learning continuity plan that addressed the different needs of learners. That is why the different modalities was developed. The Department of Education Order number 39 series of 2016, which is the adoption of basic education research agenda, try to identify the different topics and themes that can be adopted by school leaders in trying to respond to the needs in education. The regional office of Central Luzon in 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 the Philippines, we also have reformulated regional research agenda, which are actually amended by the new memorandum, which tries to adapt this. And this actually covers the different mechanisms of conducting research and the different topics that will be addressed. And normally, it responds to that need and the demand of the time. For today, the focus of research is on the learning continuity plan, no, on the assessment, evaluation, and feedbacking. So basic education agenda is articulated to provide guidance to school division offices and other stakeholders to conduct education or conduct of education research. So this is just a blueprint for educational leaders as to how they are going to address action research. Now, because I am running out of time, I will gradually present to you how the themes were actually chosen. So if you're a principal, if you're a teacher, action research to be conducted should be at least within the theme. And Department Order number 39 series of 2016 identified 4 important themes. And this is teaching and learning. As of the moment is the focus of the learning continuity plan, how students will be taught, how they will be assessed, what is the role of the parents, of the local government officials. Child protection, okay? Human resource and development, and governance. So these are the 4 important themes that research should be conducted in the field of education. Of course, there are other 3 cross-cutting themes on gender and development, disaster risk reduction and management, and inclusive education. Because we are lacking uh, of time, I'll be skipping this part, no? Um, Now I'll be going to areas for future research, or before that, the 4 main researchers' goals to pursue during this online mechanism. So for those who are doing online learning, online studies, online pedagogies, there are 4 important possible goal that we should focus on. One is on enhancing learner engagement. Research proves that learning modality is sometimes saturating. It's not totally sustainable. That is why we try to determine the number of hours as being provided now by the Department of Education, and I hope by other agency. So as teachers, we should we should try to enhance the learning engagement in our modalities. So what are the different strategies we would adopt? How to promote effective facilitation? There were parents who had been complaining about the difficulty in trying to facilitate instruction without the help of parents or of teachers. So as researchers, we should identify ways to promote effective facilitation of our different modalities. Third is developing assessment technique. If we used to have, for example, a periodical exam or quarter exam using multiple choice, what would be the best assessment mechanism that we can adopt? We can also look into that. And designing faculty development. In the Department of Education in the Philippines, and I think this is true also to other schools division offices, including the division office of Pampanga, teachers are now engaged into learning delivery modalities where teachers are actually equipped on different mechanisms, different assessment skills, and other help that the teachers need as we prepare to welcome our students come October 5. So to end, there are 4 areas for future research. One is to establish best practices for online teaching strategy. So we could actually benchmark with other schools, with other countries on the best way to handle online teaching strategies. Also, in the Philippines, we have 4 modalities, and most of the places in the country are actually into distance learning, may it be online or distant or digital modality. To improve upon the identification of characteristics that are necessary for adolescents to be successful in online learning. So we must be able to identify these characteristics that we need in order to help young learners. How virtual school and brick and mortar school personnel can encourage more interaction. So because engagement is very important, we should also look into this. Okay, so what are mechanisms that we can do to improve engagement and interaction between students and teachers and even the parents at home and other local government officials, and examine the quality of student learning experience through assessment mechanism. So to end my presentation, okay, we have to realize that using technology in the new normal to increase efficiency in areas which has the capacity to do so is very essential, while empowering learners and other communities to create positive learning environment at home or virtually in which our students can grow holistically. This is according to Ching in 2020. See, the new normal should be adapted, should be embraced, but should not sacrifice the quality of education, but continue to provide equal opportunities, especially to the most marginalized and vulnerable sectors of society. We should also remember that regardless of the modality we are adopting, that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. It's always be based on our context, on the needs of our learners, of our clientele. Okay? And particularly the whole community. As this said, that it takes the whole village to educate a child. So everybody has an important role to play. So to end, let me quote a saying from Saint Francis of Assisi. He said that because of this pandemic, for example, we could just contextualize by starting our task by doing what is necessary. So we should prioritize what do we really need at the moment. And then by doing that, we do what is possible. So gradually, we are doing what are possible. And suddenly, we are doing the impossible. As long as it is clear for us what is our role in what we are doing. So with that, thank you very much for inviting me. If you have some questions later on, you could approach me through my email address and my WhatsApp number 0933-556-4886. So once again, good morning. In the Philippines, it's now 10 minutes before 10 o'clock. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, India. Good morning, Philippines. Good morning, world. So thank you, and I hope I was able to share some insights with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Leonio, for sharing such useful knowledge with us. Now let's welcome our second keynote speaker, Professor Dr. M.D. Mamum Habib. Let me give his brief introduction. Professor Dr. M.D. Mahmood Habib is a professor at School of Business, Independent University, Bangladesh, that is IUB. In addition to Dr. Habib is a visiting scientist of University of Texas, Arlington, USA. Prior to that, he was associated professor at Brass Business School, Brass University, Bangladesh. Asia Graduate School of Business at UNITA International University, Malaysia. Department of Operational Research Decision Sciences, Universitas Atara in Malaysia, and Department of Operational Management, American International Institute, Bangladesh. He is an editor-chief in International Journal of Supply Chain Management, London, UK, Scopus Index. He accomplished his PhD and MS with outstanding performance in computer and engineering management under the Graduate School of Business from Assumption University, Thailand. His PhD research was in the field of supply chain management. He has more than 18-year experience in the field of teaching as well as training, workshops, consultancy, and research. At present, he is supervising some PhD students at locally and internationally. Furthermore, he also served several PhD involvements with UM and UMRAZK AIMST, Unitar Asia University, Malaysia. Assumption University of Thailand, Institute for Technology and Management, University and University and Birla Institution Technology, deemed University India, National Institution of Technology, that is NIT India, SOA University India, University of Assumption Philippines. He also involved with the online learning program at the University of Roehampton, London, UK. He is actively involved with international and national and international research giant projects. As a researcher, Professor Hamid published about 140 plus research papers, including conference proceedings, journal articles, and books. He served as a chief editor-in-chief, lead guest editor, board member, reviewer of more than 20 plus journals, particularly Elsewhere, Scopus, Thomson Reuters, Web of Science and Tech journals. He also delivers lectures as a keynote speaker at 50 plus international conferences at various countries, particularly Taiwan, USA, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Turkey, Korea, India, UK, Australia, Italy, etc. He also served as a general chair, professor chair, technical chair, organizing committee member, technical committee member, track chair, session chair, as well as reviewer of numerous international conferences. He receives Best Track Chair Award at IEOM 2012 conference. So let's welcome Dr. Professor M.D. Hamid. So you can continue.
Thank you so much. So basically today my discussion on the supply chain and its application in the various industries, particularly manufacturing and service industry. First of all, as we are discussing supply chain, it is very new arena in the area of the management and as well as engineering. So I'd like to give the clear idea about supply chain management. So first of all, what is basic supply chain? If you like to start a basic supply chain, then you have to start from here. You know, I always mention when I deliver the keynote speech in the different international conferences, that why you are delivering the keynote speech. Our main target is that our prospective researchers, our main audience is that those who will do the further research. So that is that our keynote speech will be helpful, will be more effective for the prospective researchers so that they can think how they will conduct the future research. So today I'll try to give them some clear idea. If anyone interested to pursue their higher studies or to pursue the further research of supply chain management, then how they could start. First of all, we need the basic supply chain. There are basically three entities. So when you think of any supply chain, we have to answer the three basic entities. The first of all, the raw materials, finished product. Then secondly, we need the supplier and customer. Raw materials come from the supplier end, and finished product finished product will be delivered to the customer. So that means that raw materials, finished product, they have a connectivity with the supplier and customer. Flow of goods for manufacturing industry. Flow of service for the service industry. Flow of information and flow of fund. Okay, I'll come back to this one later on. So now, if you ask me what is the supply chain, I would say this is the one chain that will start from supplier and that will finish with the customer. So that is our ultimate target, the supply chain that will start from the supplier and finish with the customer. And now come the next question, how will manage this supply chain? That is our discussion as well today. So whatever you are thinking, supply chain for any industry, manufacturing service industry, you have to ensure the three basic entities. Look very carefully. This is the basic supply chain for the manufacturing industry. So say, this is one example. What you said that raw materials come from supplier end. After the processing, finished product deal with the customer end. Flow of goods from supplier to customer. If it is a flow of service for the service industry, as we are talking about the manufacturing industry, the flow of goods from supplier to customer. Flow of information. Basically, we are talking about that integrated information. We are talking about the integrated information. During the pandemic time, COVID-19, this issue was a very vital issue. That how you could ensure that integrated information among all stakeholders, from supplier to customer. And then flow of money, flow of funds. Definitely, without the flow of money, you cannot continue this kind of supply chain. So now you notice that there is another three parties, another three particular parties are here: the manufacturer, distributor, retailer. It depends whether it will be available or not. It depends on the size of the organization, size of the business, and what type of business you are doing. Say, suppose a new industry, any kind of new industry, you need the factory. So you need the manufacturer only. But you no need to think about the distributor, retailer, because the customer, they can come to the factory, they can collect the product because it's a small size of the production. In that case, you'll change it with supplier, manufacturer, and customer. Suppose if you are going for the medium production, medium level production, so you are producing that 5,000 products. In that case, you understand you need the factory, manufacturer, then you need the retailer. The retailer is the outlet where the customer will come and they'll collect the product. In that case, your supply chain will be supplier, manufacturer, retailer, customer. And finally, suppose large scale operation, large scale production. Say you have the 50,000 production. In that case, you understand you have to think about the distribution channel. Definitely that time your supply chain will be supplier, manufacturer, distributor, retailer, and customer. So what I said that, whether the manufacturer, distributor, retailer will be available or not, it depends on the size of the business and the type of the organization. Now let us come to our basic supply chain for the service industry. What I said earlier, let us start from there. The supplier, customer must be there. Raw materials come from the supplier end, and after the processing, finished product will deal with the customer end. So I already mentioned this one. Then you have to think what I said, the flow of service from supplier to the customer. Flow of information. Definitely there will be the flow of information. We call it integrated information. And we like to use the one term, what we call it, the MIS system. Management Information System, integrated information. I think you're familiar with the term, the MRP, ERP. This is a very popular term. This kind of any kind of software. What is the ERP, MRP, or the software? Nothing, just integrated information. So that's why you measure flow of information among all stakeholders, from supplier to customer. And finally, the flow of fund, flow of money must be there. You notice the service provider. Basically, this service provider is your service provider. If you think that hospital, then it's hospital. If you think that university, then it should be the university. Did you notice that there is one special difference with the manufacturing industry and service industry? That is that consumer. You see, in the manufacturing industry, we didn't mention that consumer, but in the service industry, we mentioned clearly the consumer. Basically, consumer is the end customer, end user, final customer, final user. You know that what is the main difference between the manufacturing and service industry? This is the one difference. In terms of the definition, we say manufacturing industry is a profit organization and service industry is a non-profit organization. So how they'll continue the business, service industry? Their main target, if they get the profit, that profit will be utilized for the infrastructure development. That profit will be utilized for the infrastructure development. So what I mentioned here clearly, you have to look very carefully. Infrastructure development. Say in the hospital there's a profit. They never say that our main target to get the profit. They always try to say, the hospital, their main target to contribute to the society. In the university, they never say that their target to get the profit. They have to say their target, how they could add the values to the society. So this is on what I said, the consumer, the society. So when you think the service industry, you have to remember your ultimate consumer, that means the ultimate customer is the society. How you could add the values to the society. Even if they get the profit, that profit must be utilized for the infrastructure development. That profit must be utilized for the infrastructure development. So what I mentioned here, look very carefully, that when you think the supply chain manager for the service industry, then you have to remember there will be the consumer, the society will be there. And now come to the question, how you can apply this supply chain model. Basically, you can apply the supply chain model in the different industries, like manufacturing industry, like the most popular example is that suppose ready-made garments industry, textile industry, poultry industry, fishing industry, vegetable industry. Today, I'll show you some example. And you can apply supply chain for the service industry, like education, supply chain, hospital, tourism, banking, is something like that. So it means that you can apply that supply chain management concept, whatever industry, manufacturing and service industry, both industry you can apply. You know that when you're planning to apply the supply chain, that you have to think there are some few facilities and some few functional activities. So let us see the sequence of organization, their facilities, the functional activity that are involved in producing, delivering product or service. So we have to think the few facilities, we have to think the few functional activities that should be available in the supply chain. So let's see what kind of facilities. Warehouse. Basically, warehouse is a storage. You can say the warehouse or inventory. So warehouse and or inventory must be available. There's a storage. This storage could be the like raw material storage. This storage could be the like the finished product storage. This storage could be the like the work in progress products. We need the factory. I think I already discussed the earlier factory. Factories means there will be the processing center.
Sir, I guess, sir, we are not able to hear you. Hello.
Cannot hear.
Yes, yes, yes. Hello. I guess we will wait for him. He might get disconnected due to the bad network.
I think, Professor, the connection was disconnected due to internet.
I was, yeah. And now it's okay?
Yeah, now we can hear. You can start over again.
Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience. And nowadays we are facing this problem.
Now it's okay, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so what I said that when you think about the facilities, that we have to think there's some few facilities, the warehouse, what I said earlier. And the secondly, that factory. When you start thinking of the factory, you have to think the like processing center. We have to think about the distribution center. I think I already mentioned distributor. Basically, the distribution channel will be there. So when you're thinking about the like the large scale of production, you have to need the like the distribution channel. There will be maybe one distribution center. They're responsible for the 10 outlet, 10 retailer. So that is very important that we have to think in that way, whether we have the distribution center or not. So that if you have a distribution center, then you can think how you can expand the business in the near future. Retail outlet, I already mentioned this is the retailer, this outlet, where the customer will come and they'll receive the product. And finally, the offices, but definitely is all our offices. Whatever say that like the supplier
Excuse
and
me,
within their
Professor.
own office,
Excuse me,
factory.
Professor.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you. I think your slides is not shared. Can you share your slide? We can't see your slide.
Okay. Sorry. Can you see the slide now?
Yeah, it's still sharing. It's still, now we can see the slides. Yeah, I think
Thank
some
you.
internet issue is there.
Yeah.
Little
No
bit,
problem. This is the
yeah.
common issue nowadays we are facing, technical difficulty.
Yeah. It's okay. Carry on, Professor.
No
Yeah.
problem. Thank you. Sorry for the inconvenience.
It's
Okay,
okay.
so what I said that when you're thinking the facilities in the supply chain, then you have to think these facilities: warehouse, factory, processing center, distribution center, retail outlet, and offices. Okay. So what I mentioned earlier, you have to see this one that we have to ensure these few facilities when you are planning to design the supply chain for the manufacturing and service industry. Now let's move to the next one. What type of functional activities are there? So when you design the supply chain, we have to think a few other functions and activities. Forecasting. You're doing your own business, whatever the manufacturing and service, and you have to think the forecast. First one. You have to check the supply and demand condition. So you have to do the regularly monitor. You have to that one. Purchasing. This is a part of the suppose between the manufacturer and then supply end. We call it the procurement. So you have to ensure these procurement activities, how you can do the purchase. Inventory management. We have to think about the inventory. I already mentioned the warehouse or inventory, how you can manage it. Information management. Earlier I mentioned the MI system, management information system. You have to ensure how you could do this one integrated information. Quality assurance. Definitely quality assurance is a major issue. Quality assurance is a major issue. You have to ensure the quality everywhere and how you could manage it. This is another challenge. Scheduling. Oh, this is very important. On-time production, on-time delivery, on-time receiving the product. We have to ensure that lead time. You have to ensure the reorder point. You have to place the order, and you have to ensure that on time the invoice sharing, on time the invoice receiving, product receiving, something like this. It's very important when you design any successful supply chain. You have to ensure the scheduling, production, delivery. Finally, you have to think the customer service. Customer service is another issue. You have to remember the customer service that whether your customer will be happy or not, because you remember that your ultimate target. What is the ultimate target? Your ultimate target the customer. Your ultimate target the customer, or the customer is satisfied or not. If the customer is satisfied, then you can work on that. If it's not customer is not satisfied, then no problem. You cannot continue your business anymore. So customer satisfaction is one of the issue. So you have to ensure that whatever you do, you are producing quality outcomes and whatever you do, but they have to ensure that the customer they're satisfied, they can reach their target level, they can get their products on time, something like that. Okay, so this kind of functions and activities and this kind of facility must be available when you design that any supply chain. Now come to the next one. This is evolution timeline and supply chain management. I don't want to talk too much about this one. It's very popular nowadays, so you have to understand this one. Basically, supply chain management. If you ask anyone, what is supply chain management? Somebody tells you logistic management. Somebody tells you the inventory management. Somebody tells the procurement management. Somebody distribution management. Somebody they will manage the transportation. Somebody will manage the materials for. Still, it is not the clear to the audiences that how you can describe the supply chain management. Supply chain management, they started their journey by the name of the logistic management. By the name of the logistic management. So this is a very important key point that there are earlier their form was the logistic management. It's around the 1950s when they initiated the logistic concept. It has launched the supply chain management concept by the name of the logistic management in the defense military people. They were the first initiator for this kind of concept. They are working for the weapons. They're working on this kind of animation, how they'll transfer the one country to the other country, how they have to ensure the materials flow, inventory, other something. Then around the 1970s, logistic management concept was matured. 1970s, and then 1980s, initiated supply chain management concept. 1980s. That is the starting point, officially starting point of supply chain management. If you compare now the 2020, supply chain management started the journey in 1980s, only 40 years. So that is a very new in the area of the management area or engineering branch, supply chain management. And that's why I said that if the young scholar, young researchers, you can do more research on supply chain management as it is a new branch. And then officially after the starting the supply chain management, there are lots of research on the supply chain management in manufacturing industry. And most of the research is the materials flow. And then supply chain management, they started their journey in 1985 in the service industry. Supply chain management, they started their journey in 1985 in the service industry. There is another initiative by the Professor Farney, developed the one model, National Health Service for the service industry. So that means service industry supply chain management is quite new, and they started their journey around 1985, that is 25 years before. There is another milestone in the service industry supply chain management. That is that Professor Lau, he developed the one model, education supply chain model, in 2007. But in that model, he used that one case study. So case study could not be the generalized concept. On the other hand, in 2009, the ITESCA model was developed. That is the first empirical study on education supply chain management. And that model was developed 2009. And ITESCA model was developed by myself. During my PhD time, I developed this model. So that is another milestone in the supply chain management for the service industry. So you know that if you look very carefully, this evolution timeline, that supply chain management is new, and the supply chain management in the service industry is very new. So maybe this is one kind of opportunity for the prospective researchers, how they could conduct the future research. This is a very basic comparative analysis of supply chain management in a different area. You know that about 87% research, supply chain management in the manufacturing industry. And around the 13% research, supply chain management in the service industry. And that's why we like to focus this issue, given some idea about this one, supply chain management in the service industry. Basically, as it is a keynote speech on the supply chain management, I don't want to discuss many things here, but I just mentioned some key points. There is some example of supply chain management in the manufacturing industry. You see, this is the supply chain management in the ready-made garments industry. This is one example of supply chain management application. This is another application of supply chain management in the fishing industry. This is another example of supply chain management in the textile industry. So that means you can apply the supply chain management. On the other hand, supply chain management in the service industry. So you see the tourism supply chain management. You remember what I said earlier, basic supply chain for hardware for manufacturing service industry, we have to apply that one. So this is the tourism supply chain management. And this is the education supply chain. I like to talk few minutes about the education supply chain, then I like to go for the last part, supply chain management based on the COVID-19. So this is a holistic view of education supply chain. If you look very carefully, education supply chain, there is the input, process, output. Input means the supply input. And we call it the raw materials in the terms of supply chain management. And then the output, we call it the finished product. Finished product as a term of the supply chain management. There are two raw materials, internal external project and students. There are two finished products, graduates and its outputs. So the input, process, and output. And finally, the consumer, the society. So whatever you work on the education supply chain, ultimate target, how you could contribute to the society. I say there are two inputs. one is the students and the internal research project. There are two output, graduates and research outcomes. This is a simplified form of supply chain management for the university. Basically, you see that supplier, this is the service provider, and then the customer, and finally the consumer. And basically, we divided the supplier, the two segments, education supplier and research suppliers, and the service provider. Basically, in the university, we mentioned there are four main activities. One is education development, education assessment, research development, and research assessment. So what I said, university there should two important aspects on the education and the research. And the education will be divided into two activities: education development, education assessment. Research will develop two segments: research development, research assessment. Without the assessment, we cannot think about the development. So every year you have to ensure the quality. What I said earlier, quality ensure. And the customer divided the two type of customer: education customer and research customer. And finally, the consumer, the society. So what I said earlier, raw materials will come. Raw materials will be there as a supply input, and finally, the finished product delivered to the customer end. Okay, so let us provide some example of the education suppliers and research supplier. Education supplier, you divided the three segments, like the human suppliers, the supplier of students, or the second one, the fund supplier, money supplier, and finally that non-human suppliers, like the stationary material suppliers, like the IT supplier, something like that. Research supplier, there are two suppliers. One is that external research suppliers and the internal research project suppliers. There are two types of suppliers. I don't want to talk too much because our discuss on the in brief discussion supply chain management. So we also divided the education customer, research customer. Basically, customer is those who get the benefit. Customer means those will get the benefit. So education customer, basically that you understand the graduates, they will get the benefit, their family members, they'll get the benefit, and then employers, they'll get the benefit by the graduates. A research customer, if the internal research project, that our customer is mean the university will they get the benefit by the research findings. Research findings, research project, research outcomes, that is the research customers. That is the research customer. Research finding, if you see that findings in the thesis, and then if you see that research outcomes, all of this is customers. And you know that there is some external research project, those will be funded by the external body. So definitely you'll like to get the benefit by the findings. So this is the customers. You know that what I said earlier, it is not only our target to produce the output. Our target, we have to ensure that quality output. So when you think that education supply chain, then you have to think that graduates, it is our quality. When you think that like the education supply chain, then we have to think about that quality outcomes. That is our fundamental target, that how we can add the contribution to the society. Your main target, you have to contribute to society, but you have to ensure the quality. Okay. Basically, this is the ITSC model, and this model is developed, what I said earlier. This is the integrated tertiary educational supply chain management model. And in this model, basically three parts. Left side, the education supply chain, right side, the research supply chain, and intermediate bodies is the education management. And what I said earlier, our main target, we like to produce that quality is outcome. We like to produce the quality graduates so that we can add the values to the society. So that is a basically ITESA model, integrated tertiary education supply chain management model, we develop for the betterment of the society. Those are interested about this model, I like to request, you can write down the abbreviation in Google, you can get the lots of research publication on that. And based on this model, already PhD already accomplished, and there are a few research projects is going in the different countries in the world. Okay, now come to the point. We are talking about the basically supply chain applications in the different industry. So during the COVID-19 time, we are facing this problem again. At this moment, we are facing supply chain disruption. Basically that our main problem is that the fragility of the modern supply chain. The fragility of the modern supply chain, and our whole everything is collapsed. Diversified sourcing, digitization, will be a key to building the stronger, smarter supply chain and the lasting recovery. But I said that our modern supply chain already fragile. due to the COVID-19. So this is the time how we to reshape our modern supply chain management. You know that pandemic, during the pandemic, COVID-19 has hit global trade and is an investment at an unprecedented speed and scale. Multinational companies faced an initial supply shock, then they noticed demand shock because more and more countries order people to stay at home. And not only that, what I said earlier, this is a fragile supply chain. Government, business, individual consumers suddenly struggle to procure the basic products procured. You remember the procurement earlier I mentioned, and materials were forced to confront the fragility of the modern supply chain. They have only one supplier. Suddenly, suppliers stop. And you know that most of the supplies comes from the China. So too much depend on the China raw materials. So when the China they shut down, this is the facing the problem all over the global phenomenon, global business. So the urgent need to design the smarter, stronger, more diversified supply chain as you know now one of the main lessons of this crisis. So this is the way what we think the pandemic has given some opportunity for the supply chain disruption. What I mentioned here, basically when you talk about the disruption is everywhere in the supply chain. Ports to factories, port to factory, the storehouses, delivery channels, with the passing every single day during the COVID-19 time. And you can see this disruption in the transportation, warehouse, suppliers of raw materials, procurement, distribution channels, and so on. Even if you go back to the rural area, even you can see that the rural farm level, where the people are not getting the prices for the production. So if they couldn't get the fair prices, how you can continue the supply chain? If raw materials come from there, so you have to ensure that they have to get at least they have fair prices, but we cannot do this one. So I would like to stop by this one supply chain disruption. So that is the one of the key point for our today discussion, that if the audiences they are interested in future, do more research on supply chain management, I like to request that let's do some research on supply chain disruption based on the pandemic time. And I believe this pandemic will finish, but this kind of impact of pandemic will be next 10 years. So let's do some research on supply chain management based on the pandemic time. So we call it supply chain disruption. And maybe you can add more values to the society. And maybe we can apply this on for the near future. And what I said that after the 100 years, when you get again the pandemic, that time we have to use this concept. What is the learning we received from this supply chain disruption during this time? So thank you so much. And I think you already noticed that my email address is there. So if you have any further query, I'd like to request you can pass the email to me. Then I'm willing to reply your email. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for this good keynote presentation. I'm sure it will be benefit to all of us. Now, there is a request to all the participants. Kindly please turn on your videos. So we will have some memories for this great day. So I'm requesting kindly turn on your videos, please. All the participants. We'll have some screenshots here. Yes. So request to all, please turn on your videos, please.
During the pandemic time, now we are saying when we deliver the lecture in the online, everyone should turn on the camera. Otherwise, it seems to be that when you are delivering the lecture, it seems to be delivering the lecture to the statue.
Yes.
I noticed that Naeem Hossain sir, he was the active. He always turn on his camera.
Yes. Yes. Everyone, please start your cameras.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's 35. It's in 35.
So you have done your picture?
Yes, yes. We have that screenshot, sir. It was a power supply video.
There are new few participants come up. Javediya Sabir,
Yeah.
Alamshir, Tawak. Yeah.
Hello everyone. Unfortunately, due to power failure, the internet, the MC couldn't close the session. So first of all, we on behalf of Research Circle, we thank you all for joining us today, and thanks, Professor, for your keynote. You have always been very supportive for Research Circle, and also the other keynote from Philippines, the Linole. So it was really a good session. So stay with us. All the presenters who have their sessions, group presentations, we have already sent you all the Zoom links, so you all can join in after this break.
Can you
Who have the
be
session
blind?
today, and who has a session tomorrow can join us tomorrow. There will be 2 more keynotes tomorrow. So if
address.
I think we have almost clicked maximum pictures as possible. So I know, like during this online session, most of the people will be in their comfort zone, so they may not want to switch on the video. Thanks for everyone. So thanks for everyone for joining us today. Thank you all.
Thank
So
you.
we really appreciate your presence today. Thanks, and hope
Thank you.
to see you all tomorrow as well. Thank you. So we will be ending this session soon. Thank you.